shit, he dead!
With the full reveal of Smash Ultimate still fresh in everyone's minds and everyone hype over analyzing changes of past fighters and speculating what changes we can see from fighters that weren't in the demo, I decided to throw my hat into the ring. I wanted to focus on an entirely new character so I could start from scratch, and since I was always a fan of heavies, I decided on Ridley. After poring over as much footage of Ridley as I could find, frame by agonizing frame, I am confident enough to give you a full-on moveset and character analysis of the Purple Space Pirate, as well as frame data accurate to plus or minus 1 frame, and base damage values plus or minus about 0.5%. Obviously all of this is still subject to change before release, but this should still give you an idea of what Ridley will play like. First off, the parts of Ridley that don't pertain to his moveset. Right off the bat, we can see Ridley's color palette choices. Now there will probably be more, especially since Meta Ridley was shown in his reveal trailer but wasn't available in the demo, and with things like Mario getting his Odyssey skins, we can probably expect about 8 skins for each character. Ridley's default is a muted purple color with ivory colored claws and protrusions, which most closely resembles his appearance in Super Metroid, as well as his orange skin with more bone colored horns as a reference to his appearance in the Super Metroid cover art. He also has this more bluish hue, likely a reference to Neo Ridley from Metroid Fusion, along with a full-on green skin. Aside from being the obvious green choice for team battles, this also references Ridley in the official artwork of Metroid Zero Mission. The next skin is probably my most favorite, sporting a bright purple hue with lime green wings and protrusions, a fantastic reference to his debut appearance in the original Metroid game in 1986. It is also the same color skin used by the Ridley from Nintendo Land. The next skin is the Golden Ridley skin, a stylish reference to the Ridley statue in Super Metroid. This statue was one of 4 that, as you defeated the boss of their respective likeness, would turn gray until eventually all were defeated, causing the statue to crumble and reveal a new path. Next is an interesting gray or silver skin using lime green claws, wings, teeth, and other protrusions. This actually references Mecha Ridley or Robot Ridley from the end of Metroid Zero Mission, and at the time, unfinished robotic replica of Ridley himself. The last skin we see available in the demo is this charcoal colored one with yellow wings. At first I wanted to say this is based on Meta Ridley from Prime 1, but we have seen from his reveal trailer that Meta Ridley will have his own skin. This leads me to believe it's more based on his game appearance from Zero Mission, though that one had red wings. Though it could also be a reference to the first Chozo statue from Super Metroid, as it followed a very similar gray and dark yellow color scheme. Hell, it could even be from Miitomo for all we know. Now for his victory fanfare. For Ridley's first victory pose, it seems the camera catches him whilst he is mauling some poor hapless being to death, or perhaps after death. He then flashes a knowing look at the camera, only missing a glimmer on his teeth, a probable reference to when Samus first met Ridley in the manga. For his second victory pose, we have Ridley landing from flight and giving a huge screech. He does a little backflip and strikes a pose for the camera. For his final victory animation, we have Ridley making a touchdown like a jet on an aircraft carrier. He screeches to a halt, rotates to face the camera, and strikes a menacing pose. His victory music seems to be a more ominous and unsettling version of Samus's. Which is taken from the Item Get theme from the original Metroid, and has been used in several Metroid games since. Now for his actual moveset, we'll start with his taunts. What I'm going to assume is his up taunt has Ridley standing up like,
"What's crackin', little bitches?"
This is most likely a reference to the thankfully dead Ridley is too big meme that was so prevalent in the Smash community for years now, as well as a way to show just how big Ridley actually is when he isn't hunched over. His second taunt has him doing a quick flip and a flex, showing off some impressive acrobatics. And his third taunt simply has him flap his wings violently and screech at his opponent. As far as the moves that actually do something, I suppose we can start with his jab. His jab seems to come out about frame 4. I've been told 2 or 3, but I decided to be conservative with what I've analyzed. Still, that is top of the pack in terms of heavyweight jabs. It only does about 2% base damage, which may seem a little underwhelming, but combined with jab 2's extra 2% and a rapid jab, you should be doing at least 10 or 11% base damage with this jab, and we have seen what rapid jab can do in the right circumstances. Great range, great frame data, sure to be one of Ridley's staples. His up tilt has him raking the sky with his claw on his wing at the same time. This move is decently quick, taking about 9 frames to become active, and ends quick enough to combo into itself, which is one of the few moves in Smash Ultimate to do so right now. It only does about 6% base damage, so I do not see this as a kill move or anything, probably more of a quick anti-air or juggle tool, especially with air dodging being nerfed the way it is. His down tilt reminds me a lot of Mewtwo's, if only it was as good as Mewtwo's. I generously estimate this move coming out in about 7 frames. This is pretty quick, only being about a frame or 2 slower than Smash 4 Mewtwo's. While it doesn't seem to be very safe up close like Mewtwo's, it does launch at a very favorable angle for follow-ups, and will probably be one of Ridley's main tools in the neutral. His F-tilt is an interesting move. Ridley actually grabs his own tail and holds it like a pike, stabbing into the opponent. This attack can be angled and seems to have a sweet spot on the spear itself, a theme that carries on throughout Ridley's moveset. This move seems to come out about frame 9 or 10, doing 10% on the tail sour spot and 13% on the spear sweet spot. Like most of Ridley's moves, this has great range and will probably be used as a kill option when smash attacks are deemed too risky or slow. As for Ridley's smash attacks, his F smash is definitely his most powerful. Ridley blasts his opponent with a likely disjointed explosion from his mouth, dealing about 21% of base damage and killing very early. It seems to come out about frame 17 or 18, which is actually pretty fast for a move of that power, being close to F smashes like Game & Watch and Sonic's. His up smash is arguably even better. This has Ridley do his best impression of Fox, except flipping frontward and clawing with his foot. This move seems to be active for a long time, but from what I can tell, it starts about frame 12. This is pretty good for a Smash in general, but very good for a heavyweight, matching up smashes like Greninja's in Smash 4. As such, the 17% base damage it does is very impressive, and will no doubt make it one of Ridley's premier kill options. Unfortunately, something had to give, and Ridley's smashes take a steep dive in quality when you get to his down smash. This has Ridley jump high and slam his body down into the ground, causing a great amount of havoc when he does so. Don't get me wrong, this hitbox seems massive, and the height of Ridley's jump could give it some interesting applications later on, but a frame 24 move that only does about 17% base damage max with okay knockback doesn't seem to justify itself. This move seems to have its sweet spot right under Ridley doing the aforementioned 17%, and a sour spot on the edge of the move doing 16% with seemingly much less knockback. Maybe there is a rising hitbox we haven't seen yet, but for right now, I do not see Ridley down smash being used very much outside of some niche 2-frame scenarios, at least in singles. At least his dash attack seems decent, coming out about frame 11, covering a lot of distance and dealing up to 12% damage. This move seems to have a sour spot towards the latter end of its activity, only doing about 10%. Seems very similar to Charizard's in that respect, and many others. Now we get to his aerials, and honestly with Ridley's speed, range, and extra jumps, this is where he shines. We start with Nair, which honestly is an enigma of a move. The animation is kinda like a backwards Charizard Nair, with Ridley flipping his body, tail included, around to hit the enemy. Because this move seems to be active for a number of frames, and I've seen it hit many times during the course of the animation, it's hard to tell when it actually becomes active. My best estimation is around frame 8. It seems to have a sweet spot on the tip of the tail again, which I've seen do up to 12% base damage, with the sour spot dealing about 4 to 5% closer towards his body. It's hard to get exact numbers since this move is used so frequently and occupies so many spots in the stale queue. Honestly, I can't blame the players though. This move seems fantastic and will most likely be one of Ridley's go-to neutral and sharking tools. Next is Fair, which is slightly easier to understand. This has Ridley shoot his tail in a flurry of stabs, with the final hit doing the most damage and most of the knockback. I've seen this move do many different damages, which leads me to believe there is a sweet spot mechanic at play. The most common value I've seen is about 13% base damage for all the hits combined, but I've seen that number go up to 17%. This move is pretty quick to come out at about frame 7, but it seems pretty committal at the same time and will most likely be used as a confirm tool out of easier to land moves like down tilt or down throw. Nair is your traditional stall and fall move, with Ridley stretching his feet out and stomping straight down. This does a disappointing 12% base damage and starts falling about frame 14, which is faster than Bowser's Nair, but slower than, say, Game & Watch's. The underwhelming damage makes me believe it will probably have a stronger spike hitbox at the beginning of the move, but we have not seen that particular hitbox land its mark yet. Jury is out on the viability of this move in general as a result. Up air is refreshingly simple. Ridley shrugs his wings up in what I call the Skyrim Special, and does a very satisfying 12% of base damage. This move has huge knockback for a move that starts in under 10 frames, sending characters into the magnifying glass well before 90%. The hitbox is also bigger than one might expect too, with the sides of the wings being just as deadly and doing the same damage. I can see this being a very popular tool in Ridley's kit come release. Back air is also pretty simple. Ridley swings his leg back to hit the opponent. Coming out quick enough around frame 9, this move seems relatively strong knockback-wise and does a hefty 15% base damage. It also has a slightly weaker 13% base damage sour spot as well. As for his grab game, Ridley's grab seems about on par with Bowser's in terms of speed. Expect something like frame 9 or 10 for standing grab and tack on a few more frames for dash grab. I did not see any pivot grabs land, as the odd cross-up mechanics prevented pivot grabs from being a viable option in the demo. His down throw will most likely be his go-to combo throw, doing a little more than 7% and allowing a plethora of follow-ups, most namely fair. Back throw is a simple toss from Ridley and does a hefty 11.5%. This seems it will make a decent enough kill throw from the looks of the knockback it has. It's a similar story for F throw, though forward throw does slightly less damage at 9.5% and doesn't seem to launch quite as hard as back throw. His up throw is the most interesting, though I haven't seen many people using it. Ridley tees his opponent up and stabs him with his tail, doing about 12.5%, the most damage of all his throws. It doesn't seem to lead into much true combos, but can lead into some nasty frame traps. Now for the moves that make a character their own. The specials, which for Ridley is very hit and miss, in more ways than one. First up is his neutral B, Plasma Breath. The projectile shape date back to Ridley's same attack from the original Metroid. The plasma ball does about 4%, which is rather pitiful for the 25 frame startup it has. That is almost 50% slower than, say, Mario's Fireball. However, once you charge it up, things get real interesting. He then launches a stream of plasma balls that can deal almost 30% of all of them hit their mark. This stream of plasma is a reference to his attack from Super Metroid, and will also fall if it has no ground to bounce on, making it a particularly effective edgeguard tool. Overall, too slow to use in the neutral, but will definitely have its uses. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't get hit in the mouth when charging, or you will take a hefty amount of damage along with some complementary hit stun. His side B is probably his most interesting move. To the layman, it may seem like another flame choke, but it actually works much differently. Once you wait the 23 or so frames for this move to come out, Ridley will grab his opponent and begin dragging them along the ground. This is a reference primarily to his appearance in Brawl. Now, if neither player does anything, he will continue to do so until he either reaches the edge of the stage or enters the blast zone. And no, the opponent doesn't go with you. However, not only can your opponent mash out of it, with lower percents making it easier to do so, but Ridley can also cancel it himself with a jump, allowing for some serious potential edgeguard or vortex scenarios. The move does more damage the longer he drags his opponent, but the minimum I've observed that it can do is around 10% before the opponent mashes out. Where this move really gets wild, however, is offstage. If Ridley grabs an opponent in the air high enough or offstage, he will swoop them downward a la Ganonside, giving the player the option to either let the opponent mash out, after which Ridley will simply let go, or cancel it with a jump, which will send the opponent slightly upward. This could lead to some very uncomfortable offstage and under the stage situations if one does not properly respect this move while Ridley uses it to recover. It also knocks other players out of the way while he is moving along the ground, which could be useful or detrimental in doubles. We will have to see. His up B is actually quite simple in comparison. He starts moving after a fairly mediocre 23 or 24 frames have passed, after which he will fly at whatever direction you input him. This move does huge knockback and is a kill move in its own right. dealing about 18% when it first starts and about 16% on some of the later hitboxes. Either way, it's not something you want to get in the way of. Ridley also seems to be able to drift quite far afterwards, allowing him to make it back where similar recoveries like Fox or Falco would not. And now we get to the move that has everyone freaking out, and honestly, I don't know why. Down B. Yes, it did 59% to Mario and sent him to crumple.
That's a lot of damage!
However, that is in 1v1. Whereas it actually does a slightly more reasonable 42% on the strong initial hit, and another 7% when he pulls it back out. It was also the very hard to hit sweet spot on a move that is frame 30, about on par with Ike's F smash, has a sour spot that does a pitiful 5% base damage, does barely any shield damage, and doesn't even have enough advantage to get a true follow-up on its own sweet spot crumple. Everyone is freaking out about this move, and here I am wondering how anyone is actually going to land a hit with it. Aside from doubles shenanigans or punishes on very stale rolls, I do not see this move being very useful. Scary, yes, but useful, probably not. I think it needs its sweet spot toned down and its utility toned up. Right now, it's like the custom moves version of itself. Last but not least, his final smash has him smacking his opponents onto Samus's ship and blowing it up, and a possible homage to this panel from the manga. Well, that is all I have gathered on Ridley so far that I thought was worth showing you guys. Hopefully all the frame data talk didn't bore you too much, and that you were as excited to finally play as this beast in Smash as I am. I can tell Sakurai and his developing team really wanted him to be as true to his character as possible, size changes notwithstanding. Follow me at this handle for more news on what I will be making vids on next, as well as some random Smash U facts I've been able to discover as I continue to rip footage of this game apart. And subscribe for more semi-regular content. Thank you.